Hi everyone, welcome to a rather rare Meerkat Musings video with something of a special announcement which kind of came out of left field really. Well, I say out of left field. Basically, you may have noticed if you follow the website and if you track me through social media that I published a book last year. And I did this via self-publishing means, so Amazon in particular, very good for that kind of thing. And it it didn't exactly gather loads of attention, but then it's very difficult when you self-publish on Amazon and you're relying on the Amazon metrics and social media to generate a lot of attention. So the other option was to pursue a publisher. And I've been doing that over the past year. In fact, it compelled me to rewrite my book somewhat significantly in order to make some changes at the advice of a potential publisher. Now, following on from that conversation, the book is actually going to be published by a publisher, which is to me an amazing milestone. I never expected that I would get that far with this kind of thing. I never believed that something I wrote would be deemed good enough by a publishing house to take on. It does mean that the book gets pulled from any self-publishing venues. So it's gone from Amazon, it's anywhere else it might have been, it will be pulled from. I've gone through and I think I've quite thoroughly removed the book from sale from any self-publishing avenues. For those of you that bought the book, the original version, and if you did buy the recently revised version as well, I kind of owe you an apology because I appreciate you would have spent money on this, and although it isn't necessarily a huge amount of money, it's still money, it's still time, and I appreciate what you've done, and I appreciate that you've taken the time to look at this book in some way, shape, or form. You will, I guess, be in a position of having seen where it started, and if you do decide to go for the upcoming version, the third edition, I guess, then you'll see how things have evolved. Because what's going to happen is the book disappears from view, as it were, whilst myself and the publishing house I'm working with, who are called Jumpmaster Press, we edit the story, we revise it, we basically take the original ideas and we rework them, and then we see where we land in about sort of between 12 and 18 months. So it's going to be a long process, a vigorous process, and it could be at times a painful process, who knows. But it's still a proud moment. I will be signing a contract with a publisher, which I hadn't ever imagined that I'd actually do. I've always enjoyed writing as far back as I can remember, even at sort of senior school, dabbling in things, and I've done some fan fiction stuff and that kind of thing. But it wasn't until it wasn't until 2019 that I kind of even remotely began to think I could actually do it properly. In fact, the story that I wrote, The Awakening, began life as something called The Warlord, and it was never really intended as something to publish. I just, during down periods at a previous job, I would get to work on it. I would be writing it on my phone, and then at times I'd be writing it at home on the computer as well via WordPress. And it just grew and it expanded, and it reached a point eventually where I thought to myself, you know what? What have I got to lose by actually trying to do something more of this? And then, of course, you kind of know the story. It got self-published to Amazon, and from there it's kind of evolved again, and it will evolve again. But it's still a pretty proud moment. As I said, I never expected to actually get something into print. I never expected to actually end up with a publisher that wanted to take this further. So I guess you might say that in a way that's vindication for me and my writing abilities, which is quite nice. And I look forward to seeing where this goes, what kind of direction this pushes the story in, how it will push me as a writer to adapt. And look, I'm not expecting to become famous from this. I'm not expecting to earn loads of money from this. But you never know, of course. I mean, I always try to be optimistic with this kind of thing. It might mean a bit of extra money, extra revenue, which is always useful. Something to supplement my full-time job, not to replace it. Of course, the dream of dreams would be that somehow it becomes really big. But I don't expect that to happen. Beyond this amazing sort of moment, as it were, I have begun to work on a sequel to The Awakening. In fact, originally when I wrote what was then called The Warlord on WordPress, and particularly during the pandemic, I had lots of time to sort of write that. I had already fleshed out, if you like, parts 2 and 3 quite thoroughly. Whether it remains in the same format going forward, well, a lot of that might depend on how The Awakening gets changed and edited. But I do have an overall story that I'm working to. I'm also working on a couple of other things as well. There is another story, completely different, which I've been working on quite vigorously lately as well. I'm on to over 12,000 words now with that. So we'll see where that goes. It's a dystopian kind of thing. So we'll take a look at that and see where that goes as well. And this could be the start of something which, as I say, I don't expect to become famous from it. I don't expect to become rich from it. But it guarantees something of a legacy, doesn't it? It might be that no one really shows any interest in this until long after I'm gone, but it still means something important to someone, perhaps in the future. Who knows? But as I say, I'm very proud. I'm still somewhat surprised by all this. To actually get an offer was beyond my wildest dreams. And we'll just have to wait and see how this plays out. I'm cautiously optimistic that this might lead to, as I say, something kind of exciting. More money in particular is what I'm after, of course, with this. But also a little bit of glory, not loads, as I say, but something would be nice. Some sort of recognition for the effort and the time and the effort to come as well will be gratefully received.